The Charleston City Council's District 10 race in West Ashley between incumbent Harry Griffin and Stephen Bowden is heating up just 1 week before the election. I speak exclusively with Harry for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Councilman Harry Griffin, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks for having me, Quintin. I got to have my Braves hat on for a minute because they clinched the pennant for the first time since 1999. I've been a Braves fan my entire life and couldn't be happier right now to see this team come back and make it back to the World Series for the first time since I was really a little boy.
And congratulations to your Braves. There's a big talk about that on social media. But let me talk to you, obviously, about what's going on right now. Obviously, you're seeking re-election for your seat on Charleston City Council to represent the District 10 area of West Ashley. And I have to come to you with some developing news, as you know. And by the way, let me tell you, Stephen Bowden was supposed to do an interview with me on Thursday, but had to cancel. So I'm hoping to get him back on Quintin's Close-Ups as soon as possible, schedule permitting. But the Charleston Citizens for Responsible Leadership suggests that you are in favor of defunding the police. They say you claim you didn't suggest it after you did so on the record. When did you not suggest this?
I've never suggested defunding the police. You know, it's pretty sad when dark money groups have to come up with, fake websites and all kinds of other crazy ideals. That just shows you that for some reason there's a group of people that feel that I might be, they know that my district is smarter than that. And they know that our district is different than other areas of the city. And they are resorting to some really sad and distasteful tactics to try to sway voters away from the reality. The reality is I've never, ever said that I would want to defund the police. I've always been staunchly against that. And I've sent an email to council back in November of last year proposing a balancing of our budget that never touched the police or fire department's budget. So that's just an outright bold-faced lie. They're referencing an editorial piece written by Brian Hicks of the Post and Courier in his own words, not my words, his words. So I have never, ever said that I want to defund the police.
And what other suggestions, Councilman Griffin, would you bring to City Council to continue to fund the police department?
Well, we need to raise their pay. It's pure and simple. We've got to roll up our sleeves on council and look at our budget and figure out how we can give these guys a pay increase. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm disappointed that our fire department makes less than St. John's, makes less than St. Paul's, makes less than St. Andrews. I mean, these are much smaller departments, and their firefighters are making more than ours. And that's just sad. We've got to find a way to make Charleston more livable so that our employees and our first responders can live in our city and not have to commute from other areas of the region to come to work in the city of Charleston because they cannot afford to live here. We need to look at significant cost of living increases every time that we are able to do so. But the fact of the matter is Mount Pleasant just raised their first responders' pay significantly, and the city of Charleston needs to follow suit.
How much is the typical city firefighter making right now, and how much is that compared to the other departments?
A city firefighter makes, anywhere from, $45,000, maybe a little bit more than that. But that is not a livable wage to live in this city, especially when these guys are putting their lives on the line every single day for us. They fought tirelessly through this pandemic for the last 2 years. And I am disappointed that our mayor has an executive order that's going to take place in the next few weeks where these guys in the fire and police department that have fought for our lives every single day for the last 2 years, along with our other essential city employees, they're looking at taking away their jobs if they're not vaccinated or not in compliance with our policy in the next couple of weeks in November. I am staunchly against that, and I think we need to have a plan B because we cannot afford to fall down on our citizen services, nor can we afford to fall down on protecting our citizens, which these guys and girls do every single day on our behalf.
from my understanding, the numbers are going down as far as COVID cases. So why it's a mandatory vaccination now?
I have no idea. I don't support it. City Council did not vote on it. It was done at the direction of Mayor John Tecklenburg. He left it in his own hands, and he gave me the reasoning that if he could just save one life. Well, let me ask you this. What about if a building's on fire and we don't have enough firefighters to go and put that fire out? What about those lives? What about the lives at risk when gun violence is up 62% in our city and murders have doubled? What about those lives? Do those lives not matter?
Now, how many firefighters have said, I cannot take this vaccination? And how many do we stand to lose? I
have been reached out personally by several firefighters that are not going to be in compliance. 20% of our police department is in non-compliance. That's over 100 police personnel. 40% of our recreation department is in non-compliance. So we're looking at losing significant number of city employees in just a couple of weeks. And our mayor has done nothing to come up with another plan that makes more sense, because this is not fair, it's not just, and it wasn't diplomatic. He did it by himself, and that's just not a good way to run a government.
What is your sensible plan?
My plan would be to follow federal guidelines that if these guys and girls don't want to be vaccinated, they could be tested on a weekly basis. That would get us in compliance in the federal policy, and that's good enough for me. I think that's more than enough. I mean, I have to show a proof of vaccine or a negative test just to go to my city council meeting this coming Tuesday, because we're meeting at the Gilliard.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's ridiculous.
And just let the viewers know, the Gilliard Center has implemented a vaccination or negative test policy just to get in for concerts and events and other things. But I know I'm running low on time. But let me fast forward to the issues at hand. I was given a flyer just the other day from obviously your opponent Stephen Bowden, and he's your opponent in the race for District 10. He says you are, quote, a typical self-serving politician with extreme views, unquote. Who is Harry Griffin as a politician?
I'm somebody that loves my community. I love my neighbors. That's why I decided to run. I wanted to fix this flooding issue that we have, and we've made substantial gains over these last 4 years, and I want to see these projects to the end. Mr. Bowden has made several claims that are just outright bold-faced lies. He says that I'm taking money from developers. To be honest with you, Quintin, you know that I am in the maritime industry. I work for one of the biggest warehousers in the Low Country, and we create hundreds of jobs. And I have friends that build warehouses up near Volvo and other parts of the Low Country, nowhere near District 10. And yes, they're personal friends of mine that have given me donations. Mr. Bowden also criticizes the controversial booze pops. I don't know what's controversial about booze pops, to be honest with you. In fact, I just watched a video where their owner, Woody Norris, helped a member of our military who had been deployed for 9 months surprise their child in a neighborhood by, returning them home. It was beautiful. I don't think there's anything controversial about it. I think Mr. Bowden, for some reason, has resorted to these lowball mudslinging tactics. But the fact of the matter is, I know District 10. I've lived here for 20 years. He's lived here for 3. He's only lived in Chatham since 2018. He wasn't around when we flooded. He has never been around for any of the issues that we face, but I have. And I know our people, and they're a lot smarter than that rhetoric. They look for results. And for the last 4 years, I've produced them.
Does your views align with the residents of District 10?
We're going to find out on November 2nd, but I can tell you, if you look at the history of District 10, it's been, more conservative than some of the other districts around the city. But the fact of the matter is, any person that lives in our district that calls me for help for any reason, I never ask them what political party they're affiliated with. All I do is ask them how I can help. And I do it every time. I don't care whether it's somebody who supports me or not. I don't care if it's somebody who voted for me or not. As long as I'm in this seat, having the pleasure and the humble pleasure to serve District 10, I'm always going to help my constituents. And it's that simple.
Let me turn to what else is going on. Mr. Bowden alleges that you took $4,000 in campaign cash from a Pennsylvania development company seeking to do business here in the Low Country. When did you start allegedly communicating with this company?
I've been friends with these guys for years. They build warehouses. I'm in the warehousing industry. I create jobs. We create good jobs, good paying jobs. We move freight around the world, really. We're an international company. So yes, I have friends that are in the development community, but they build buildings. They don't build houses. They're not going to build in District 10. That is just a way to try to skew our voters because I guess he's nervous or scared about the race. But I know that the people of District 10 are smarter than that rhetoric right there.
Who is this development company, Councilman Griffin?
They build warehouses in the Low Country. They haven't built any in the Low Country, really. They're looking at building some warehouses, up near Volvo, up near Boeing, up near Bosch, where commerce moves. We're bringing jobs back to the Low Country, and I'm proud of that. Mr. Bowden's supporters want to defund the police and don't think that what happened on King Street was violent. I mean, I would take my friends, my contributors over his any day of the week.
Where in Pennsylvania that is this company located?
Well, it's a couple of guys that lived in Pennsylvania that have moved down here to the Low Country. But to be honest with you, I think it's really disrespectful to try to, name, specific businesses. I don't really like that tactic that Mr. Bowden is doing. I think that's distasteful. The fact of the matter is these guys are friends of mine. Personally, I've got plenty of friends. Every one of my contributors is a friend of mine. And to be honest with you, they have absolutely no interest in building in District 10. District 10 wouldn't even make sense to build a warehouse. I mean, it's just really just a laughable claim.
When did you receive $4,000 from them, allegedly?
I haven't. I mean, I follow all of our contribution limits. It's $1,000 per LLC or individual. So an individual may have given me some money and an LLC may have given me some money, but nobody has given me $4,000 in one lump sum. That would be against the rules.
How many people have given you money individually, and how many LLCs have given you money for your campaign?
I don't know the specifics on that, but I've raised over $40,000, and I would say that probably 80% are individuals. I have had a few LLCs give me money, restaurants, businesses, because I've always been a proponent for small business since I've been on city council. I have fought for individual rights. I have fought for property rights. I have fought for us, trying to get these businesses back after the pandemic. And that's why people have donated to my campaign, because I was the guy that wanted us to open back up, because a lot of people on council and our administration shut down the businesses for several months. And I knew that our economy was going to take a dramatic hit unless we got these guys open back up again.
Well, how many small businesses did actually close down during the pandemic, and how many have actually permanently closed?
We lost over 100 businesses during the pandemic.
In your district?
No, not in my district.
How many in your district?
In my district, we don't have a lot of commercial development. We don't, and that's something that I want to change. I mean, just in the last couple of years, we got a beautiful Harris Teeter. You've been there. And that's a thriving shopping center. Lowe's Foods has come in and repurposed a BI-LO. And that's also, they're doing very, very well. So we're making some strides in the commercial development arena, but for years and years, we've been strictly residential. So it's good to see some mixed use in there.
Mr. Bowden also alleges you took allegedly $3,000 in campaign cash from, in his words, the controversial, quote, Blues Pops company, and voted in favor on a matter in front of city council. What did you all discuss prior to the city council meeting, you and the Blues Pop company?
We've never, look, I'll be honest with you. That's just another lie. I've never, ever, ever allowed a company to influence a vote that I've taken on city council. I actually take that personally because that's an attack on my character. I went to the Citadel. Honor, duty, respect. A cadet does not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. I don't take that lightly. But the fact of the matter is, you can ask any of my colleagues. I've never allowed anything to influence one of our votes. We've never specifically voted on an issue involving booze pops. We voted on late night ordinances,
right,
about when people can close and when they can open. And to be honest with you, I voted to move the closing time up from 4 a.m. to 2 a.m. for those guys. So I actually voted against them. So I really don't understand where that's coming from. To be honest with you, the owner of that company has been following me since I got on city council, and he likes that I've always fought for small businesses. So he gave me $1,000 through his LLC, and he personally gave me some money as well. But to be honest with you, I don't know how you can put that they're controversial on a flyer like that. I don't know where he's getting that information. But I think, like I said before, I think it's very distasteful to personally call out a business. Have we looked at his campaign disclosure and who's donated to him? Because some of the radical ideals that he's come up with, if they support those, then I would have some serious questions about them as well. And what he'll owe them when he gets on city council, if he wins.
Now, obviously, Mr. Woody allegedly gave you $1,000 from his LLC, and he gave you some individual money. How much was that?
$1,000.
Twice?
$1,000 through the LLC and $1,000 through him personally, which is
$2,000.
That's exactly what's allowed. You're allowed to give up to contribution of $1,000 per LLC or personal.
Okay. Now, Mr. Bowden also says that you allegedly expressed support for a December demonstration, in his words, featuring the extremist white supremacy group, that is, Proud Boys, describing, quote, as Mr. Bowden says on the campaign flyer, as poignant and good. Then, in an email to the Charleston County Bar, Mr. Bowden says you allegedly invited the Proud Boys, in his words, into our city for a rally. We've talked about this extensively on Quintin's Close-Ups, and I've asked you a lot of tough questions about this. But as we sit here right now, do you support the Proud Boys?
No, never. Never will. Really still don't, to this day, don't know anything about that organization. And really don't think that they're in Charleston. But to be honest with you, I've never supported them. I never will. Look, it was an anti-tax rally. They wanted me to speak. I'm anti-tax. Sure, I made some missteps along the way, and I've got knocked down a few times, but I get back up every single time. And I learn from my mistakes. I don't make the same mistakes twice.
Who invited you to this particular anti-tax rally?
Well, some people that were involved in the rally, individual people that live in the city of Charleston. I had several ask me to come. I can't remember exactly who it was off the top of my head, but several people did.
Was it the Proud Boys that invited you to the rally?
No. I like I said, I don't know anything about the Proud Boys. I don't know if they have an organization or a chapter or whatever here in Charleston. But no, I did not invite the Proud Boys. I've seen that being spread around by Mr. Bowden as well. I did not invite them here, nor do I affiliate with them. And it's that simple.
Okay, well, let me ask it this way. From December 2020 to right now, Councilman Griffin, what is the biggest difference about that rally?
Well, look, that rally could have been done a lot better. I don't think there's anything wrong with peacefully protesting. We've seen it in the city many, many times. That rally was about not having a tax increase. And guess what? As a city, we did not move forward with the tax increase. Although it was originally approved, we actually went back recently and amended our budget to balance it without a tax increase. So in terms of it being an anti-tax rally, they proved their point. Now, I don't support anybody coming to an event with militaristic ideals. I don't like when I saw that there was a tank that showed up there. I don't like that. I don't think that's right. That's antagonistic. But I don't think there's anything wrong with people peacefully protesting.
How would you know all of this if you weren't there?
Because I watched the news. I saw it on the news.
Now, let me turn over to some other issues. You, according to many people in the city of Charleston, have become a member of the Charleston City Council who, at times, according to them, are not on board with the mayor's agenda that is. Given this, Mr. Councilman, what role can you play on council in your second term to move the city forward?
I'm going to work with the other members of council that have common sense solutions and work together. There's a lot of people on council that I really enjoy working with, that we get along very, very well. And we've got some really great ideas. Sometimes the mayor gets in that way because he tends to be pushing a different agenda. But we need to move forward as a city, not in some of the ways that we've tried to. I think they've become more divisive, but there are great ways that we can move forward. I mean, we're sitting as we speak, Quintin. We're sitting here talking about this wall that wants to be built around downtown. Now, that wall is going to serve a very small number of our population. We've got 80,000 people off the peninsula west of the Ashley. They need help too, and so the perfect example would be the mayor is spending our time and resources focused on something that's going to help a very small number of people that live in this city. Now, our city staff and the Army Corps say that downtown is the economic driver for the city. Now, I beg to disagree, because we have 80,000 people that live west of the Ashley that need help. They are the foundation of our tax base. They are the foundation of the city. So we need to be focused on helping them. And that's why I asked the question at our meeting just last week.
Right.
How would you convince my district that is going to have no direct impact on this wall? What would you say to them when we've been flooded out repeatedly? And the response was, well, downtown's the economic driver for the city. So we have some very different points of view going on city council. And we've got to figure out how to come up with some common sense solutions to move us forward together.
What is the current tax base in the city of Charleston?
Are you asking how much revenue tax?
Your tax base, yes, sir.
Well, I don't know the exact number, but I can tell you this. Property taxes are our biggest revenue source in the city. However, property taxes alone do not cover our general fund. They don't even cover our public safety budget. So we have to look outside of property taxes. While property taxes are very important, we also collect money through business license fees, and we are able to get hospitality and accommodations tax money to help out downtown. But property taxes, I don't know the exact number, but I can tell you it's the number one revenue source for a city.
Well, what's the general fund right now looking like?
Well, we've been having budget workshops. We're doing a lot better this year than what we thought. Our budget last year was, in the low 200s. But I think our budget will be somewhere similar. Obviously, last year we had to be very, very thin and kind of we had to trim a lot out of it last year. And our budget last year was actually a lot lower than the year before. And I think you'll see that this budget is very similar to 2020's.
2019.
I think 22's will be very similar, but we'll have a slight increase in our budget in 2022 than we did in 2021.
And on this particular campaign flyer, going back to your campaign, Mr. Bowden obviously posted your mugshot photo on the flyer. Is your recent DUI charge that you told me a few months ago was obviously dropped something that should matter to the constituents of District 10?
I don't believe so, and let me tell you why. Not only was my charge dismissed, but that mugshot has been expunged. I don't even know whether it's legal or not for him to post that picture on that flyer. But the fact of the matter is we've got some serious issues in District 10. Flooding and infrastructure are the two biggest. We need to get public safety is right up there with it, because our citizens are scared every day whether or not their homes are going to be broken into. You know that my family's was broken into by an armed burglar in the middle of the night several times. We have some serious issues in District 10. And I don't think that me being acquitted, that never affected my job, not in the slightest, and so we've moved on from that. And I really don't think it matters. To me, it was something that happened, and I moved on from it immediately. It hasn't impacted my job whatsoever. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not even relevant, because it was dismissed, I was acquitted, and it was expunged. So I moved on from it, and I think I feel very confident that the people of District 10 have as well.
Let me turn over to the issues. Got a lot of questions here for you. What has been the most important thing that has actually changed in District 10 over the past 4 years?
We've gotten significant money back to District 10 for flood relief. We've gotten more money back to District 10 over the last 4 years for flood relief, for flood mitigation efforts than we have in the history of this district. And I'm very, 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 very excited about what's on the horizon. We got a $3 million grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. That is going to create significant storage improvements to the Church Creek Basin. We are going to be creating a 17.5-acre public lake on the northern part of the basin. We've teamed up with FEMA to buy out repeatedly flooded homes. We've done that every year that I've been on council. It wasn't just Bridgepoint. These were other homes within the basin as well. We made significant improvements to this basin, and I believe that we're going to take the engineering and the hydrology studies and all of that we've done over the last 4 years and turn that into significant action. We're going to invest this money that we've gotten from the federal government, state governments, and we're going to create positive flood mitigation that's going to really set us up for, being dry, which is most important, but also we're going to thrive, and we're going to be able to bring some commercial businesses to District 10, which we haven't been able to do over the last decade due to the flooding.
How many Black-owned businesses or minority businesses do you want to bring to your district?
As many that want to come as are able. And I think we need to focus in on small local businesses, minority-owned, women-owned, Black-owned. I don't care who they are. We need to get small businesses, local businesses to District 10. People don't want to see chains. You got to have a few anchors. Harris Teeter and Lowe's Foods are great anchors. But within those shopping centers, you can have locally owned, small-owned business. And I welcome that in District 10. I hope we can bring as many as possible in a smart way. We have to develop and we have to grow, but we have to do it, in a way that isn't going to hurt the people that have been here for generations.
How do you help those local businesses boost their competitiveness among other businesses coming into the district?
Well, you have to work with landlords. You have to work with property owners. You have to have people that are willing to develop, that are really going to not give an advantage to somebody who's a big box. If somebody comes in and they want to charge $9 or $10 triple net to a business, for their lease, it's going to be very hard for a startup to be able to come in there. So we got to have developers that, are wanting to be successful, but aren't looking to make a fortune off of their lessees.
How would you create a business preservation alliance?
In what way? Explain to me what a business preservation alliance is.
Just keeping those businesses where they are. Yeah, it's kind of like what you have in Mount Pleasant with the Chamber of Commerce.
Well, we have to team up with our Chamber of Commerce here in Charleston. We've got a great Metro Chamber of Commerce. We have great businesses that have been around for a long time, and it gets extremely difficult to keep a family-owned business that has been around a long time in business due to the fact that they're mostly family-owned. And I'll be honest with you, you probably see it. It is very, very hard to get staffing right now. Very, very difficult. So we as a city should incentivize these businesses. We as a community should incentivize these businesses. And we as, a constituency or a population should always look to support these businesses, and we should try to help them find ways to get employment. We deal with employment issues at my job. We are constantly hiring. And I see that in other small businesses. Word of mouth is a great tool. And we should always kind of be looking out for our neighbors. If we love a business, then we should be promoting them. Word of mouth goes a long way. I think about some of my buddies that own restaurants and just sort of the staffing challenges they've had. And also not only staffing, but when you talk about getting supplies, supply chain right now is very, very difficult to get produce, to get meat, to get paper straws, to get whatever, plates, cups. We as an industry, and I'm in the supply chain business, we have got to do a great job of facilitating commerce and moving these goods through these ports so that our small businesses are not suffering from a shortage of the materials they need to be successful.
How has the location, style, and quality of retail development in your district has changed during the time of periods of growth?
Well, I'll tell you that, we didn't have any changes in retail for a decade. We got a Bilo 20 years ago, and we got a Walmart 15 years ago. Then we got nothing for 15 years. And Walmart has no out parcels. Bilo has had a few, but nothing's really been able to withstand over several years. So I'm very interested at how this Lowe's Foods comes in and how they do. And I'm very interested at the Harris Teeter Shopping Center. I can tell you, Harris Teeter is packed every single day. It's one of the fastest growing Harris Teeters in the Low Country, or in the Southeast. And they have some great small businesses within. You've got a nice Mexican restaurant, Agave. You've got a sushi place. We've got the Comeback Shack, or not the Comeback Shack. Maybe it is the Comeback Shack. We've got a seafood restaurant coming over there as well that's going to be really great. I look forward to that as well.
And I was just there 2 weeks ago, as you know. But what's your 5-point plan for the Bees Ferry corridor in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, infrastructure's got to be number one. We have got a lack of infrastructure. We need to find a way to move forward with getting Glen McConnell extended to Village Green. Getting it extended to Highway 165 is going to be very, very tough. But getting it extended to Glen McConnell is a top priority. I won't put that as number one. That would be, I would say there's three number ones, 3 of the 5. Glen McConnell extension to Village Green, widening of Glen McConnell, which has already been designed and is going to be starting here in the next year. Getting the flyover done at Magwood and Glen McConnell. All of these 3 infrastructure projects have a lasting impact on Bees Ferry. You team up those 3 things with getting new businesses to Bees Ferry along the West Ashley Circle. Right. And lastly, number 5, getting these storage areas along the West Ashley Circle, because we've seen some flooding along the West Ashley Circle. We've seen flooding in Hickory Farms. We've seen flooding at the Crosstown Christian Church. We have seen flooding in those areas. So if we can mitigate flooding and we can store some of the runoff from these areas in some new drainage areas, then so infrastructure, the 3 projects I listed, incentivizing business to the West Ashley Circle, and improving flooding along the West Ashley Circle. Those would be my 5 points to improving the Bees Ferry corridor.
And I had a chance to walk from the West Ashley Circle all the way out to the Publix on Johns Island just 2 weeks ago. But the city has these requirements for traffic studies prior to developments being approved, and people say they keep ignoring that. How can a big, massive, dense development keep coming to West Ashley with the traffic situation right now as it is, and the 526 extension is not coming anytime soon?
Look, we need to we have to have some growth in the area. A few more houses, if the developer is willing to implement the infrastructure, that is possible. But it has to be a planned unit development, and in that planned unit development, they need to lay out the ways that they're going to improve infrastructure, that they're going to build roads, that they're going to store water, how they're going to make schools. They're going to have to bring a police station. They're going to have to bring some commercial development. The only way that a project is going to be successful out in District 10 is if it's a planned unit development that is very, very open about what they're going to do, and they have got to build the roads if they're going to build the homes.
What current public and private partnerships would you be in favor of as far as expanding infrastructure for your district?
Well, when it comes to infrastructure, we have, as a city, have got to always team up with Charleston County. We've got to team up with the South Carolina Department of Transportation. We've got to work with some of these, intergovernmental agencies, but we also have to work with some of these organizations like the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. We've got to work with FEMA. But at the same time, anybody who wants to build in that area needs to be at the table as well. And they need to be willing to make the significant investment to create the infrastructure, because a developer has got to be a partner. Developer can't get everything. We're going to make sure they've got the property rights, and we're going to protect their property rights. But at the same time, they've got to be willing to invest in the infrastructure. That means the roads. That means the drainage infrastructure. That means the sidewalks, because we need to be more bikeable and walkable out in District 10. There's a lot of things that a developer can help with, and they need to be a willing partner at the table if they're going to build in District 10.
How would you include new bike and pedestrian facilities and programs into the city's existing transportation network?
Well, specifically to my district, we've got some pretty good we've got some pretty good bike and ped passageways. We've got the Larry Shirley Bikeway, which goes from all the way from Bees Ferry Road all the way up to Village Green. That it's utilized daily. You've got bikers and you've got walkers. It's a 2-mile stretch, and then from Bees Ferry down the Larry T. Shirley Bikeway, then you can take a sidewalk, a nice big sidewalk all the way from, and even the bikeway continues as well. You can go all the way up to Main Road. So we've got, and within the neighborhoods, you can actually go from Shadow Moss all the way to Grand Oaks, all the way to the Harris Teeter, all the way up Main Road without ever getting on 61 or Beast Fair. So we've made significant improvements over the last decade, and I can't take all the credit for that. I can't really take any of the credit for that. That was actually done before my time. But we're very lucky in District 10 that we have some successful bike and ped passageways to get from point A to point B. You can go up to the store and get a gallon of milk or get what you need to get and get back to the house without ever sitting in traffic. And that, I think, is a success.
And how would you push for safety measures, that is, within the new and existing regional transportation features?
Well, I would focus on the Cosgrove Bridge. We've lost way too many lives on the Cosgrove Bridge. It's the corridor between West Ashley and North Charleston, and it's got several thousand cars that travel over it every day. And it seems like every week we lose somebody crossing that bridge. So we've got to find a way to make that bridge safer. We've got to find a way to get pedestrians and bikers over that bridge without the loss of life. And if we lose one more life, we fail. We've got to do a better job. That we've already made significant improvements. They're on the way, I should say, to get over the Ashley River Bridge and get into downtown with this almost $20 million bike pedestrian bridge that's coming, that the federal government teamed up with Charleston County and the city of Charleston to fund. So we're taking care of that. There's really two areas. We need to focus on the Cosgrove Bridge, and we need to focus on the James Island Connector. Those two passageways are dangerous, and there really isn't a safe way for somebody biking or walking to get over those bridges.
Oh, you meant the Cosgrove and the Ashley River Bridge?
Yes.
Because they won't allow anybody on the James Island Connect anymore. But let me ask you this, Councilman. No. Would you be in favor of establishing a state-of-the-art connectivity system that connects residents and visitors to the top attractions in your district and recreational spots?
Well, we're very lucky in District 10 to have the Bees Landing Recreational Center in Grand Oaks. It's technically not in District 10, but it's so close. But we've got a lot of parks coming our way, and that's something that I'm really extremely excited about. We've got a really nice ecological park that's going to come into Shadow Moss. It's going to replace the former Bridgepoint site. We've got some smaller ecological parks that are going to come to some of the other former houses that used to flood out within Shadow Moss. And we've got some significant opportunity with this 17.5-acre lake that I was talking about, and a nice city park up in the backside of Village Green. So District 10 is going to be, I think, a mecca for families to be outside and exercise. And, I coach flag football for the city of Charleston. My little brother's 8, and I coach his flag football team. And we play at Ackerman Park every week. But I would love it if we could find a way to play out closer to District 10. So, hopefully within the next few years, we can create some more public parks. I know they're on the way. We're working on it. And it'd be really nice to get that active activity back into District 10.
Well, and that was really my question. What is the feature of the culture core of District 10?
Well, I think the culture core of District 10 has been great for a long time. It's going to stay the same. It's hardworking families that get up and go to work every single day, that really don't want the government telling them what to do all the time. We pay good taxes in District 10 because they're very nice homes out there. I mean, they're not mansions or anything like that, but They're nice homes. And so we pay property taxes. We pay a lot of them, so we want our trash picked up. We want our ditches cleaned out. We want to know if we call 911 that the police are going to come. But really, other than that, we don't want a lot of government intervention. We want the government to just kind of leave us alone and let us do our thing. But these are hardworking families that have been in West Ashley. They were part of, St. Andrews PSD for a long time. They were annexed into the city, and they're part of the city of Charleston now. But they've been in West Ashley. Most of my neighbors have been around a long time. Stephen Bowden's been in our neighborhood for about 1 minute. He's lived here since 2018. But most of my neighbors, I've lived in the neighborhood for 20 years. Most of my neighbors have been here for a long time. We have a great quality of life. Other than the fact that we flood out and we sit in traffic, we're working on those things. I'm actively working on those things. And I know that we can continue to improve this district and make it better to live, better to play. I'm looking forward to the future, but the culture is great. And I'm very, very lucky to have lived here and been a part of it for 20 years.
Well, let me ask a simplistic question. Do you want a performing arts or cultural arts center in District 10?
I would love it if there's an opportunity for that. Right now, our city's focused on building a multi-million-dollar building at the former pig site on Sumer Street. So there hasn't been a lot of talk about doing anything positive like that out in District 10. I know we've talked about having a lot of recreational spaces, but I would love to see something like that. We do have a forensics lab that just opened up, which is great for our police department and all of the police departments in the surrounding municipalities. They'll utilize that center. But I would love it if we could get an art center. I did drama growing up, acting, and it was one of the foundations for my life. So I would love to see a culture and arts center in West Ashley. If not in District 10, somewhere in West Ashley.
You talked a lot about the flooding in the homes. How many people have sold their homes and actually moved out of District 10 in the past 4 years?
Well, just in Bridgepoint alone, there was 32 units. And then we've had at least 10 other houses. So, close to 50 households at least have moved out due to flooding. Now, we have not had a significant flooding event since I got elected. And we're very lucky at that because we have made significant improvements by creating a drainage schedule and going out and cleaning the ditches at least twice a year in every neighborhood. But we have got to continue to make substantial improvements. Now, we funded a lot of the engineering, but this next 4 years that I'm in office is going to be about a plan of action to get these projects done so that I can leave my district better than how I found it.
Do you know what's the current drainage fund?
The drainage fund is, I believe the last time it was around 20 million. Okay. Somewhere in that vicinity. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. But to be honest with you, West Ashley projects, they have to utilize a drainage fund. That's pretty much where these West Ashley projects, that's where they have to come out because we don't have a lot of TIFs in West Ashley like we do downtown. Now, we do have a Church Creek TIF, which has been started since I've been on council. And that TIF district will actually, every dollar that's created out of the TIF will go to flood relief specifically. It's the first TIF district of its kind. So commercial development that abides by our new stormwater standards that is successful in District 10 will help to fund drainage projects in District 10. So I think that's a great thing.
The Church Creek NFWF, Renaturalization, Habitat, Restoration, and Flood Projection Project, obviously. Do you know by chance how much money is coming from that grant for this particular project?
$3 million.
Okay. Do you foresee this project budget to be expended over the next 3 years?
I do. I feel very confident that by the end of my second term, this project will be completed. We're going to be acquiring a significant amount of land that's going to be right in the heart of District 10 that's going to serve as an area for storage. And it's going to take a lot of the runoff over some of these surrounding areas, hold that water, and it's going to create, it's going to alleviate some of the issues, the oversaturation that we've seen in District 10 in Church Creek, in the Church Creek Basin.
One last question for you, Councilman. Do you feel like you have matured during the last 4 years of your term on City Council?
I think that's a great question, Quintin. I'm glad that you asked that. I think that, when I started on City Council, I was 22 years old, right out of college. I have lived my entire adult life for the most part in the public spotlight. So people have seen me at my highest point and they've seen me at my lowest over the last 4 years. You know, they've seen a burglar break into my house while I've been on council. They've seen somebody threaten to put bleach in my food at a restaurant while I've been on council. They've seen some of the other things that we've talked about today. And yes, I have matured. I learned from my mistakes. I don't make the same mistakes twice. But you have to realize I'm a young man who is pretty much my entire adult life has been everything I do, good and bad and ugly, is always going to be on camera. It's going to be in the news. I don't go out and try to get the news to follow me or anything like that. You know as well as I do, I rarely even speak to the media these days. I think over the last year, I only speak to you for the most part because I trust you. You're a great reporter. But yes, I've matured over these last 4 years. People have to remember I'm 26 years old. I've been in office for 4 years. If I'm reelected, I'll have served 8 years in government by the time I'm 30. Yes, I've matured. I've learned from my mistakes. But I also think that because I'm different, there are people that throw jabs at me. And, you know, I've taken a lot of them. And I've been knocked down a few times, but I'm like a boxer. I get up. I get back up. I'm going to continue to get back up and fight for my district. I just want to make sure that I leave it in a better place than I found it. And while I believe we're moving in that direction, we're not there yet. And I know that at the end of the next 4 years, we will be there.
Was it a mistake to vote on an audit for the mayor?
No. I don't think it's ever a mistake for a council or, somebody to come in and provide oversight on somebody, especially since he just recently, previous to that, he had been, found that to mishandled $80,000 from somebody that he was managing their money. So, and I mean, we have to remember too, the mayor allowed Roy Willie to come into our city, work without a contract for several years, and collect $150 an hour to do things such as watch YouTube videos of our meetings and invoice that back to the city. There are things that have happened over these last 4 years that are coming out of our administration that are not good. And people deserve to know about that. I've never been one of the boys. I've always been somebody different. And I'm not a politician. I'm somebody who's lived in my district for 20 years, and I care about my citizens, and I'm very concerned at the direction that we're heading as a city. So I'm always going to be somebody who kind of goes against the grain and tries to protect our citizens, but also is a vocal advocate for them and also explains to them what's going on at City Hall. I'm a representative of them. And we'll find out on November 2nd whether or not they want me to continue for 4 more years to continue to be that advocate or whether they want to go in a different direction. But I just am thankful for the opportunity that I've had. This will be our last interview before the election. I've really enjoyed getting to know you over these last 4 years, and I hope to look forward to serving alongside and interviewing you for 4 more years.
Councilman Harry Griffin, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups. And I hope before the end of this election cycle that we can get Mr. Bowden on to get his side of the story as well. But thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Quintin. It's always a pleasure. God bless.
Likewise.